Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Savi Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So we are seeing now the last of the 4 Mahavakyas, which comes in verse number 4 of this Manīṣā Pañcakam, and then one verse will be left which talks about Anandam. Let us chant this number 4 and then we will get back to our discussion which we started in the morning. Ya tiriyang naradevata bhirahamiti antasputa grihyate yad bhasa hridayakshadeha vishaya bhanti svato cetana tam bhasye pihitar kamandalanibham Spurtim sada bhavayan yogi nirvritamanaso hi gurudityesha Manīṣā mama tam spurtim, that which is illumining what all the time the entire world, whether it be at this bodily level or at the cosmic level, but here which is illumining all living beings, whether it is Tiriyang, animals, Nara, Devata. Nara means human beings, Devata, there is something inside which is making all of us feel self-conscious and which enlivens, makes this, the second line says, which is Swataha Acetanaha. Swataha Acetanaha means all these things which are inert. Jada, Acetana means Jada. This body, mind, intellect, all Jada. Like an entire refrigerator or television or computer, all of it is Jada. But when that electricity comes, so see how many things are there in that computer, up to the software Jada. If it does not get electricity, isn't it? Because a little pen drive has software in it, but Jada. They need some electrifying force like that, right? So in all of them there is a conscious principle which makes them Chetan. That conscious principle is grasped by all of us in some way or the next. Yesterday we had a nice discussion about that is grasped and not grasped at the same time, isn't it? We all know the consciousness in us and we do not know the consciousness at the same time. when we have the feeling I am, and who doesn't have the feeling I am? That time we are speaking about that same consciousness. But when we add the next piece, I am this BMI, well, the consciousness is forgotten. The attention is on. If I just say I am, then the consciousness is being referred to. If I say I am body, mind, intellect, the consciousness is forgotten and now the attention has come to body, mind, intellect. But the I am part, another way to see that is, if I say I see this, right? If I say I see this, so the I is there as the seer and this is there as the seen. But if I say just half that sentence or half that line, this, if I say this, so I just show you this, the first half of that sentence is understood. It is not stated. When I say it in the first time, I see or I know this, right? I know this. So I am saying the full sentence. I know this. So there is the I and the this which is known. In the second sentence I say this. The second line I say this. The first part of the sentence I know that first part is understood, because who will be saying this? I just say this, the first part of the sentence is understood. I know this, or I am pointing to this, or I am seeing this. So if I point out an object also by just saying this, the first part is understood. Otherwise the pointing out will not be possible if I am not. If I am not there, pointing out or the seeing or the knowing will not be possible. So even in a sentence where there is no subject, there is a subject. I am the subject. You say, in English they say this is not a sentence, because it doesn't have subject, object and verb. Who told it not a sentence? It's a sentence. If I say this, one part of the sentence is understood. I know this. I see this. Otherwise there will be no saying or no seeing. Nobody will be there to say this. So the first part of the sentence is there, very much there. That I, who knows it, that is the self-conscious principle in all of us. An ant has it, a dog has it, that's why Tiryang, Nara, Devata, everybody has that, right? Now, that I really is Atma. That I really is Atma, but that Atma has become now identified with the level of the Antakarana, with the level of the body, means this gross body. That I, human beings have a knack for identifying that I with many things. Some people identify that I with their money. Some people identify that I with their children. So we say, if my money is gone, I am dead. Have you heard people say? Huh? His eye has gone so far that eye has gone so far to his money, or he's gone so far to his children or to some other. Without you, I am nothing. Have you heard? That means we have taken the I even beyond this body and to our things around us. That is the idea. So now that I, let us trace it a little bit, because it is the self-conscious principle in all of us. That I is described here as the Brahman. I am Atma, Brahma. That Atma is described as Brahma. So let us trace that I a little bit. I had given you a nice model. This is a very important model for you to remember. This model was Shuddha Brahma, Shuddha Chaitanya Brahma. Shuddha Chaitanya is called as pure Chaitanya, unconditioned, unassociated, unbroken, unrelated, undifferentiated. Pure Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya, that is called as Brahma, absolute reality. Upahita Chaitanya, and that same Shuddha Chaitanya has become Upahita, associated, conditioned, or related to, and that pure Chaitanya has become associated, related, conditioned, then it is called as Upahita Chaitanya. So, Shuddha Chaitanya associated with what now? Upadhi. Upadhi means a conditioning. Like I told you, there is infinite space associated with this pot. Now it has become Upahita, conditioned by this pot. So you have to remember at each stage, if this little bit of space here has become conditioned by the pot, it does not become disjointed from infinite space, does it? It never becomes disjointed. It just becomes associated with this pot and conditioned by this pot, right? So it is called Upahita space, Upahita Akasha. So the problem happens not with conditioning, not with association. The problem happens in the next stage. So Upahita Chaitanya, the actual technical name for Upahita Chaitanya is called as Sakshi. Here Shuddha Chaitanya is called as Brahma. Upahita Chaitanya is called as Sakshi. Until there is no problem. The problem happens when in that association or in that conjunction between the space and the pot, a second stage, a second step happens. And that second step is what we were talking about yesterday, that is called as Adhyasa. They exchange Anyonya Adhyasa, they exchange gunas, and in that exchange the Chaitanya becomes identified with that Upadhi. The space becomes identified with the pot. So though he is never separate from the infinite space, he becomes identified with the pot and he thinks this is my size, when his size is really infinite. He thinks this is my size, 2 cubic foot of space. So that is called as identification. This identification can only happen if there is Anyonya Adhyasa, means the both of them have to exchange gunas, exchange qualities and attributes like that. So this Upahita Chaitanya associated with this Upadhi. What is the Upadhi? Body, mind and intellect. Pure Chaitanya associated with this body, mind, intellect. Or if you want to use, see, body, mind, intellect is something which Gurudev used. If you want to associate it properly, you say the Shuddha Chaitanya associated with the causal body, subtle body and gross body. Or Shuddha Chaitanya associated with the Antakarana and the body, like that. So that Shuddha Chaitanya now associated is called as Sakshi, but identified is called as a third thing now, that is called as Jiva. So the Shuddha Chaitanya identified is now called as Jiva. Associated only is called as Sakshi. Identified is called as Jiva. So now that is what where we are. So we are what now? Shuddha Chaitanya, first becoming associated with this body and Antakarana, and then becoming identified with this body and Antakarana, right? So now the important point in all of this, from Shuddha Chaitanya to Upahita Chaitanya to, this is called now Vishishta Chaitanya. In all of that, nothing happens to that Chaitanya, because Chaitanya is Niravyayaha. Niravyayaha means without change. Niravyayaha. Shuddha Chaitanya is Niravyayaha, it cannot change. It, like for example, let me just tell you now. You have the pot here, right? And it has 2 cubic foot of space. And into that pot you put 2 cubic foot of hot mango achar, pickle made with Trinidad scorpion pepper. That is hot like fire, right? Atomic bomb. So now the space is occupied by the same 2 cubic foot of space is occupied by the hottest achar on the earth, right? So where is the space? Right here, this space. This is pot and this space is occupied. You move the pot from here and you bring it here, pot of achar, bring it here. The space which was occupied just now, now the space is free. The space is still here, isn't it? Does that space have any tinge of achar? Not even the slightest tinge of achar, isn't it? That space is called a niravyaya. It in no way becomes called para. It is beyond being touched by any achar. It is niratishaya. It is niravyayaha, unchanging. Nothing can ever happen to it. So it may have been caught up by some hottest achar on the earth. That is a different matter. Being caught up and being and changing, they are two different. Like the most venomous of snake may appear on the rope, but the rope remains rope intact. That is called a niravyayaha. So Shuddha Chaitanya associated with the Antakarana and then identified with the Antakarana. It doesn't matter what stages Shuddha Chaitanya goes through. Shuddha Chaitanya is like that space. It remains untouched. So this point has to be remembered throughout the whole entire analysis which we are doing. Now, how many stages were? Shuddha Chaitanya Brahma, Upahita Chaitanya Sakshi, Vishishta Chaitanya, this is called Vishishta Chaitanya, identified. Vishishta Chaitanya Jiva. Now you remove these two. Now Vishishta Chaitanya Jiva we bring here. Now our subject of discussion is Vishishta Chaitanya, right? So Jiva is what now? Jiva is this Shuddha Chaitanya which has become identified with this BMI, correct? Shuddha Chaitanya becomes identified with this BMI. Oh, when that identification takes place, what happens? Shuddha Chaitanya is now saying, I am body at one point. Shuddha Chaitanya is saying, I am mind or heart at one point. Shuddha Chaitanya is saying, I am intellect at another point. Shuddha Chaitanya is saying, depending on where he is concentrating on, he is saying, identify with that layer of the personality. He is saying, so when Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with body, he says, I am 5 feet 5 tall. Identify with body, he says these type of things. I am 5 feet 5. I am Indian. I am fair. I am dark. I am Brahmana. I am Kshatriya. When he is identified with body, he is saying all of these things. Because all these things belong to the level of the body. Then that Shuddha Chaitanya will say, I am sad. I am glad. I am mad. I am bad. That time Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with mind, because all these emotions are there in mind. So sometimes quickly he jumps from one level of the upadhi to another one and identify with that level, he says something. Now all of it is wrong, isn't it? I am sad, bad, mad, glad, all sorts of things. Then when he is identified with the intellect, he says, I am intelligent. I am educated. But your hand cannot be educated, that's body. So that is, when he says I am educated, that means he is identified with intellect. I am knowledgeable. I am clear. Even if he says I am confused, that is intellect. I am confused. Intellect is not clear. That time Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with the intellect. When the Shuddha Chaitanya says, I am great, I am better than you, I am Superman, that time Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with Ahankar. I am great, I did this, I did that, were it not for me, you all would not have been here, all of you would have been dead, isn't it? There are many people who speak those type of things. That time Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with ego, ahankar. So he goes on identifying with various parts of his personality, and everything he says is foolish only. Correct or not? Even if he says a positive thing at the intellect, I am educated, I am intelligent. Education in this world has no end. A person who has a PhD is a person who knows more and more about less and less. Correct or not? Huh? Anything is, that's why? Because anything he says is rooted in falseness. So anything, the best thing for him is to keep quiet. Anything he says, because he starts from a position of falsity. Because I am not this body, I am not 5 feet tall, I was not born at this time, all as body was born at that time, it will die at that time, all, isn't it? So, if he says anything at the body level is false, anything at the mental level, I am Shuddha Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya Brahma, Upahita Chaitanya Sakshi, then Vishesha Chaitanya Jiva. This same Chaitanya, which is now identified with various levels of that upadhis, says various things. Now, if you go back, all of these things are known. Body is known, mind is, body is size and body height and everything is known. Mind's emotions are known. Intellect, knowledge and education or ignorance thereof, that is also known. All of them are known. So, who is the knower? Shuddha Chaitanya, the eventual knower, divinizing all of them, enlivening all of them, supplying the wherewithal for all of them. I am that Shuddha Chaitanya which is supplying. Then, like this, that analysis leads me to think, no, I am not body, mind, intellect, ego, all of these things, I am Shuddha Chaitanya. So now, this language which I just gave you, because Shuddha Chaitanya is identified with all of them, Shuddha Chaitanya go on saying, I am tall. If Shuddha Chaitanya says, I am tall, that means you are referring to this body. So that time the body becomes Atma. I really am Atma. But when he says, I am tall, that time the body becomes, and in the Shastras, body is called as Atma. Mind is called as Atma, like that. So he says, I am tall, the body is being referred to as Atma. When he says, I am sad, the mind is being referred to as Atma. When he says, I am intelligent, the intellect is being referred to as Atma. When he says, I am responsible for this, I did this, then ego is referred to as Atma. Therefore, you will see verses like, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Uddared Atmanatmanam, Atmanam avasadayet. Lift yourself by yourself, right? You could lift Paramatma or what? That means some other part is being referred to as Atma. Because Atma is coming in our verse, isn't it? Uddared Atmanatmanam. Atmanam na avasadayet. Don't bring down yourself. So you cannot bring down Atma or lift Atma. Atma is all pervasive. That is called Shuddha Chaitanya, which has become, that is all pervasive. So you can't do anything about that. So it means Atma is there. And so many verses like that throughout the whole Gita everywhere. So many verses are referring to one or the other level where this Shuddha Chaitanya has become identified with that particular level at that time. Right? So when we say now, I am Atma Brahma in the Mahavakya. In the Mahavakya, when we say, this Atma is Brahma. What exactly are we referring to as this Atma? We are not referring to body or mind or ego or anything like that. We are referring to the Shuddha Chaitanya that had become identified with this body, mind and intellect. That Atma is Brahma. And then we just saw the derivation of that. That is the same Atma, Brahma, Shuddha Chaitanya, which had become Vishishta and which had become Upahita, means identified. Upahita and Vishishta, identified, like that. So, in the Mahavakya, I am this Atma is Brahma. The Mahavakya is referring to not BMI, not these levels, it's referring to Shuddha Chaitanya, which goes through a process of becoming identified. That Shuddha Chaitanya is this Atma, and that is Brahma, because Shuddha Chaitanya Brahma. So the Mahavakya is referring to the inner self of me. Now it is the same Shuddha Chaitanya which has gone through this process and is there in an ant, in a human being, in a devata, in everywhere. That same Shuddha Chaitanya has gone into all of these various upadhis. They are just now I was telling you, this is upadhi, body, mind, intellect, ego, ityadi, like that, right? So these are upadhi. So just the difference is, this upadhi is different from an ant upadhi, different from a butterfly upadhi, different from a bird upadhi, different from a devata upadhi. But the Shuddha Chaitanya which has become identified with that upadhi is one and same. That's ahamiti antaha sputa grihate. And therefore every jiva, in whichever upadhi that jiva is there, every jiva has this very strong sense of I as opposed to even the spider, who have 8 eyes. His eye is stronger because he has many eyes, maybe. You see? This is very clearly grasped, and I told in the morning, that's why sputa grihyate. My I-ness is clearly, unequivocally grasped, and I am sure about it, and I don't have to see, even in a dark room, I know I am there. I may not know you are there in a dark room, but I know I am there, isn't it? We may not know what is going on with you, but I know what is going on with me. First of all, I am there, and I am confused about what else is there, or I am clear about what else is there, all that kind of thing. But my being there is actually speaking. I tell you one more thing. Do you know, this aham iti antas puta krihyate is really speaking the only thing we can be sure about. Second thing, not can be sure about, this is the only thing we are sure about. Every other thing is doubtful. Anytime we go one step beyond that, that thing is questionable and doubtful, dubious. Because, see, the next step, I am, that is indubitable. I am body, you see, because what some other step, I know this, that is dubious, because the thing which I know may be false. Any step after that is questionable and doubtful. But the first step, I am. So this ahamiti, aham antaha sputa grihyate, that is unquestionable. See, I'll tell you something. Suppose I question that also. Suppose I am, and I'm questioning that, but you have to be to question. First I have to be there, then question. So the fact that I'm questioning it proves that I am. You see? This line, this type of lines in Shastras, they have no end. See, just now we started by saying, this is so clearly grasped by every being. But if you start thinking about this grasping, aham iti antas sputa grande, sputa word makes it so good. That sputa word is what is making all of this possible, making all of this what we call the implications possible. When sputa word is clearly, really speaking, I can only be clear about one thing in this world. You cannot be clear about anything else. Everything else after that is guesswork. Yes, every single thing after that is, yes, guesswork. Even if I start asking what I am, if I see a question there, see, that means to say, well, I've started guessing now, isn't it? What I am. But I am, that is not guesswork. So, whether it is a spider, tiriang. Well, spider might not be tiriang. I don't know if they have a backbone or anything like this. Anyway, so whether it is a little ant or fly or any creature, they have that I am. Others beyond that, they may have anything. But first they have I am, this feeling of self-consciousness. And so he runs away to save himself when he hears the slightest sound. Any one of them. You see a mosquito. He has his eye about me, it's self-conscious. One mosquito asked his father, Dad, can I go on my solo flight now? I'm old enough, The father said, yes, son, go now. Take your solo flight. Be careful. It's dangerous world out there, When he came back, the father said, how was your solo flight? He said, it was super. It was so good, everybody was clapping. Means I impressed everybody. Well, yeah, I impressed what? You're lucky you came back. So anyway, so in the first verse, that thing which shines as I. What shines as I? Shuddha Chaitanya, which has become Upahita and Vishishta. Only that is shining. And it is Niratishaya, it is Niravyayaha, and it is all the time there. Nitya Brahma in the previous verse, it is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa. That also many description for that Aham, which is part of that Shuddha Chaitanya only. That is now said Yad Bhasa Hridayaksha Deha Vishayaha Bhanti Swato Achetana. It is that Shuddha Chaitanya now associated with this body, mind, intellect apparatus, with the whole apparatus here, which enlivens that apparatus, consciousizes that apparatus. There is no such word, but a good word to make up. Even though they are achetana. Achetana means they are all jada, dead. So that consciousness which is making them alive. So there are two things. There is sign of life, means activity, means not regular activity, means voluntary activity, and there is sign of knowing. Those two things. It is this Shuddha Chaitanya which provides that fuel for this whole apparatus to know and to do. To know and do. In this case, some sort of voluntary action will be there also. Like for example, a plant, it goes towards the sunlight. You know that, na? So the plant also goes towards the sunlight. Otherwise, an atom has involuntary activity. Like the atom keeps, the electrons keep. Yes, that's the activity is there. But that is, there is no life. We don't say that is called, atom is not alive. But the plant is alive. The spider is alive. The fly, the mosquito, they are alive. So alive means what now? Some sort of voluntary activity. So life and awareness. This is a also very, very, very subtle topic. Life and awareness. They seem to be very much, so because the plant has to be aware somehow which direction the sunlight is, isn't it? And life, see, there's life here in the middle. On the one side, awareness is part of life, and on the one side, activity, which is somehow voluntary, is part of life. Otherwise, if it is moved by something else, not by itself, if it is moved by something else, then it is not voluntary. It has to be able to move by itself. So the plant moves by itself. So the life has these two aspects, activity on one side and awareness on the other. Awareness many times based on the activity based on the awareness. Anyway, so here this upadhi, body, mind and intellect, becomes in Hindi the word is even better. It becomes jivit. The upadhi becomes jivit. Jivit means alive. Yeah. By this conscious principle. So they are themselves jada, achetana. But he said, by the shining of that pure consciousness, yad bhasa hridaya aksha deha vishayaha, mean these objects of body, eyes, heart, mean mind, all of these, they all become jivit, they all become conscious. Swataha achetana, but by themselves they are achetana, mean jada. Then tam bhasyai pihitarka mandala nibham spurtim sada. Spurti means it is all the time shining, all the time illuminating. And how? Like the sun arka behind a dark cloud in the sky. If there is a cloud, the sun is shining. If there is no cloud, the sun is still shining, isn't it? The sun is all the time shining. Sun never stops shining. Even when it goes on the other side of the earth, it is being blocked by the earth, but it is still shining. And when it we spin, we see it the next morning again, but it never stopped shining, shines all the time. So sada spurtim, sada is daily dipana, sada bhavayan also. Sada all the time shining. And the example which has just been given is the sun. That means what now? This upadhi is awake. So we say now the upadhi is awake and the consciousness is flowing through my eyes. So I am conscious of you. I am conscious of this wall. I am conscious of this thing. So we say now I am awake and I am conscious. And the consciousness is derived from that ultimate consciousness, right? Oh, what about when I go to sleep? The consciousness sleeps also or what? No, only the antakarana is sleeping. So when the antakarana sleeps, that is the dark cloud which is being spoken about. Behind that dark cloud, the sun of pure Chaitanya is still shining, but just like the cloud blocking off the sun in the sky. The sun did not stop shining. That pure Chaitanya is still shining. Sada bhavayan yogi nirvritamanasaha he, means the yogi who all the time knows this, meditates on this, lives in this, that yogi who does this with nirvrita manasa, I mean a mind free from thoughts, the yogi who basks in this consciousness, that yogi is my guru, whether he is a Chandal or a Brahmana. That is the idea which is being given there. So many things are there in those lines. Nirvritamanasaha, the one who is meditating on that reality all the time with a mind free from all thoughts, all it means that mind is only basking in the internal Atma Chaitanya, the consciousness of one's own self. Otherwise that mind basks in all the nice things outside, He likes, ice cream man passing. You never eat ice cream from a bicycle man in Trinidad, or this thing or that thing, or Debe doubles better than Pinal doubles. The mind is always basking in all the things outside. But here, this mind which is free from all worldly vrittis, things of the world, that mind basking in this consciousness which has through this process become identified with this BMI. So he takes the backward journey and realizes even though it has become identified, identification does not do anything also. That thought you have to remember as well. An identification does not do anything. For example, suppose you identify with the gecko that advertises for insurance. Suppose What enchant is it? Geico. Suppose you identify with the gecko that identifies for Geico. So what you do, you see this advertisement for the first time and you think this gecko is so cute. So you sit now and you meditate on that gecko, and you come home now and tell everybody, I have changed my identity. From today I am a gecko. That makes you a gecko or what? You identify with whatever you want. You identify with whatever you want. You will always be a human being. Correct or not? In the very same way, this Shuddha Chaitanya identify with his BMI, may identify whatever he wants. He always remains Shuddha Chaitanya. You see, like at this point he is achar space, but you know the next moment you move the achar from here, the space is free now, the same space. He was always Shuddha Akash. Yeah, at one time he was conditioned and all that by a particular space, but that conditioning and the identification does not do a thing. And you know why? This is also because of truism. I told you in the morning also of certain truisms which are there in the universe. A thing cannot, no thing in the world can deviate from its essential nature. That is the law. No thing can deviate from its essential nature. Sugar cannot deviate, then it's not sugar. If that deviates from sweetness and starts tasting bitter, who will call it? Sugar. It really, everything in the world has, let's clarify that, go into that a little bit more. Everything in the world has an individual essence, and at the same time has an samanya essence, what do you call that now? Common essence. Everything in the world has an individual essence and a common essence, right? So the individual essence of sugar is sweetness. The individual essence of chili is hot. The individual essence of the what you call of salt is lavana, saltiness, right? Everything like that has its own individual essence. But if you go deeper into everything, the common essence is sat. Sat means existence, right? But a thing cannot deviate even from its individual essence, then it will not be that thing thereafter. Everything has to stay in its individual essence. And no, if an ordinary thing cannot deviate from its individual essence, what to talk of? Paramatma? So, and if the salt dresses up like sugar and come here tomorrow, he could dress up like whatever he wants. He's still salt. He could identify himself and change his name, but he will still be salt. That is the same idea with this Shuddha Chaitanya coming through this process of association, which is called Upahita, or identification, which is called as Vishishta. But he still remains Shuddha Chaitanya. This is what? This Shuddha Chaitanya plus ego plus intellect plus mind plus body and plus chitta, memory, all this together, that is called a jiva. You get that word jiva? All this together, you can minus the Shuddha Chaitanya also. That Shuddha Chaitanya, in that apparatus, in that upadhi, is said to be reflecting. When it Shuddha Chaitanya reflects in that upadhi, it is called as Chidabhas. That's how you hear this word many times. That Shuddha Chaitanya reflecting in this upadhi and thereafter providing the wherewithal for this upadhi, that time it is called as Chidabhas. But anyway, jiva is this whole thing all put together. You cannot minus any part of it. That is called as Jiva. I mean the Upadhi plus Shuddha Chaitanya and the Anyonya. See, if it is here, Shuddha Chaitanya associated is not Jiva, that's called Sakshi. If associated, it is only called Sakshi. Conditioned or associated is only called Sakshi. Some identification has to do. So that one plus this one and identification. Identification comes when there is Anyonya Adhyas. Then Jiva is born. So the whole conglomerate together and all together with the wrong identification that they call as Jiva. But I told wrong identification changes nothing. It does not change Shuddha Chaitanya to Ashuddha Chaitanya, and it does not change Jada Vastu to Chetan Vastu. Neither of them changes. When the sun reflects in the bucket of water, this water is wet, sun is heat. The two of them mix, but the one does not put out the other. Usually water can put out fire, because it was only a reflection, one does not put out the other, you see. So you have to contrary thing mixing, and some new products seem to have been formed. But in the two product mixing, like when oxygen and hydrogen mix, a new product which has come there is water, correct? But the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom, they still maintain their, correct? Though a new product may be formed, but the two of them still maintain their. So here the body, mind, intellect, and the what you call the Upadhi still maintains its Jaratvam, and the Shuddha Chaitanya still remains Shuddha and infinite, Ananta. But it is true that a king can play the role of a beggar. Correct or not? It is true that a king can play the role of a beggar. Like King Janakji Maharaj came and told Ashtavakra Guru, Ashtavakra, that last night I dreamt I was a beggar. He said, last night I dreamt I was a beggar, now I am doubtful. What are you doubtful about? Whether I am a beggar dreaming I am a king talking to you now, or whether I am a king who dreamt he was a beggar. He became doubtful. You see, you may be doubtful about that, but you are not doubtful that I am, because he is asking a question. But in the life of a king, he may be a king. He could dream that he is a beggar, or he could play the role of a beggar and all of that. But none of it changes his nature, isn't it? So this is, imagine that Shuddha Chaitanya, which is all pervasive in this entire limitless universe, is existing. Infinite universe has now become localized in this Antakarana, and thinking he is this little Jiva, little body. Yeah. So he says, I am Atma, that Chaitanya which is in me is Brahma. When he says I am Atma, the Atma word is not referring to the different level which are usually called Atma also in scriptures. Quite often they are called as Atma also. Is referring to the Antaratma. Here, see, let me just introduce a few more words for you. Over here, you have Shuddha Chaitanya Brahma, then Upahita Chaitanya Sakshi, then Vishishta Chaitanya Jiva. This Upahita Chaitanya Sakshi, that Sakshi word is also called as Antaratma, sometimes called as Pratyagatma, the indwelling Atma. Those words you may have heard also. Whenever you see the word Antaratma or Pratyagatma, it is referring to the same Sakshi, which is Upahita Chaitanya. That Antaratma is what is being referred to. That is just the same space in the pot connected to the same infinite space. He was never finitized. He can never become finitized. He is always infinite. So in the same way, the consciousness in me is always infinite. And so the consciousness in me is the same consciousness in you, is the same consciousness in all things. This is taught in the beginning of the 13th chapter when Bhagavan says there, Aham I am, Bhagavan is telling to Arjuna, I am Kshetrajna Sarva Kshetreshu. I am the knower in every single Kshetra means BMI. I am the knower in every single BMI. It's one, and you don't have two Shuddha Chaitanya. There is one Shuddha Chaitanya in all Jivas. Tiryang, Nara, Deva, all Jivas are included in that. He says, that yogi who is existing in this state, that yogi is my guru, whether he is Brahmana or Chandala or whatever he may be, let him be. He is my guru because he is in that state. So, this Atma is that Brahma. This is Mandukya Upanishad Mahavakya of the Atharva Veda, which is called as Anusandhana. So, you see, Anusandhana Vakya means this is the process which this Jiva has to go through of leave out the gross part, leave out the mental part, leave out the intellectual part, leave out the ego, leave out the chitta, all memories and all my things of the past, leave out all of that. What is left now? I am left. So, it is a process and a journey which he has to do. It is called Anusandhana, means following a particular process or a journey. So, he has to leave out. What is left? Atma. That Atma is Paramatma, which is called as Brahma. So, Atma and Paramatma is one and same. Now, one more little confusion which always comes. People say when he died, Atma left. People keep on saying when he died, Atma has gone. Look here, I just told you, in many times in the Shastras, this body is called as Atma. Because it is the same Atma which is identified with the whole. So, this body is called as Atma. Then sometimes the Antakarana inside, that is called as Atma, which is made up of Mana, Buddha, Chitta, Ahankar, all four, which is called the Antakarana. That is called as Atma sometimes. And of course, there is the Atma, which is Shuddha Chaitanya, which has become associated and identified. So, when people speak, the Atma has gone, it is there in the tradition, you can't also dispute it because that the language is used quite often. What they mean to say, the Antakarana which is inside this body, because the body is dropped here and you take it to the Smashan. So, that is not the Atma which is referred to. And the other Atma, which is Atma, that is Paramatma, that is all pervasive. So, an all pervasive thing cannot go anywhere. That is here, there and everywhere. So, now which is the other Atma which is left now? Only thing is Antakarana. On one end body, at the other end Atma, which is Shuddha Chaitanya Paramatma. So, in the middle the Antakarana, that also is called Atma quite often in the scriptures. Here in chapter 4 also that was called as Atma, the Antakarana, when it was talking about purification. So, that Antakarana leaves this body and goes to some other place, and some other body is waiting there, and that could go immediately, it could go after 500 years, it could go at any time. It leaves this body and goes to another body. That is what we say the Atma. So, you have to be clear about what is being referred to as Atma. It means the Antakarana. He goes there, and if the parents are ready, he will go into that body right away. If the parents are not ready there, the fellow will wait a little bit. And how he will go there? He will go there based on he is drawn by his own karmas. Karmas draw him like a magnet to that environment and that body where these karmas can express themselves. That is the idea. Otherwise, that question always comes up. How is it the Atma is all pervasive? Atma left? All pervasive thing can leave. It's just a different name for the Antakarana. The proper name would have been the Antakarana left. Now, you pay attention to this thing now. Remember, Shuddha Chaitanya which has become identified with this BMI, Shuddha Chaitanya is enlivening this BMI, correct? We saw it is enlivening, it is illuminating, it is all of that, right? Energizing this BMI. Now, BMI, if the body falls, if when one dies, the body falls, so that's only one part of the upadhi has fallen, right? The Antakarana, which is made up of Mana, Chitta, Buddhi, Ahankar. Those 4 are still there. One part they have dropped, like a lizard dropped its tail. One part has dropped, and these 4 are still there, and they are still there, still enlivened, still divinized, still consciousized by that Atma. And so now that moves from one place to another. So it is like a fish swimming in water. So the fish is never outside water. That Antakarana is never outside consciousness. It's being illuminated by consciousness all the time, and it goes into some other body somewhere. So always swimming in a medium of consciousness. So you don't have to worry about Antakarana will perish. I don't know what will happen. It cannot come out of infinite Atma. How it will come out? It's enlivened wherever it goes, and then goes into another body and lodges itself there. And now it takes back, like the lizard grow back a tail. Lizards grow back tails, you know. Takes up another part of that upati that is suited to its own karmas and likes and dislikes, and that's why the chip doesn't fall too far from the block. Yes, okay. So this is I am Atma Brahma. This Atma, not this body. Deeper, deeper, deeper in the body, the Atma, which is Shuddha Chaitanya only, is Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. And the verse is telling some new things about that. That is always shining. Always shine, always there. The Atma is always there. Okay. All right. Now we will see one more verse tomorrow. 7 a.m. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.